What do you need in your football bag in 2023? And what is the most optimal stuff to bring for training and matches? In today's video, you and I are gonna pack a football bag together based on what I typically have in my bag. And spoiler alert, I have a lot. So I'm gonna split it into two levels of, let's call it gearheadness, to make it a little bit easier. The basics and the extra nice to haves. And just keep in mind that you don't have to have a bag full of stuff like me, but it should hopefully act more as a blueprint of what you can do to put together the most optimal football bag for you. So let's get packing. And remember that you can buy all of the stuff in my bag in the link to Unisport right up there. But let's start with the basics, or the bare necessities, if you will, because we all need football boots, right? And I realize that not everyone will have as many as I do, but to have a pair of football boots is a really good way to start. And I always say that to choose the right pair of boots for you, you need to start by looking at the surface you play the most on. So if you mostly play on natural grass, then the most common outsole, FG outsole, is probably the right way to go for you. But if you even play 50-50 or mostly on artificial grass, then you should probably consider getting an AG pair of boots. Not only to put less pressure on your joints and your knees to prevent injuries, but also to make sure that you just don't lose your warranty on your boots if they do fall apart. But the good thing about choosing your boots right now is that there are so many awesome models out there, and you'll struggle to make a really bad choice. But what's in my bag currently though is the Mizuno Alpha Japan and the Adidas X Crazy Fast Plus that I alternate a bit between. But they are also on the expensive side, 300 and 300 plus something euros. So you can also go for the elite model of the Mizuno Alpha, 200 euros, and also a very good football boot. Or you can go even cheaper and buy the new Balance 442 V2 Pro at 150 euros, which is just so much value for money, and it's really comfortable too. So take a look at either of those, or whatever your heart desires, but just go back, start with the surface you play the most on, and then go from there. But of course, you also need a pair of shin pads. And I don't want to hear any of that macho bullshit.
Oh, I don't like wearing shin pads. Oh, I can take the pain.
Well, the laws of the game say that you need to wear shin pads, so just get a pair of shin pads, okay? Now, in my bag, I have a stupidly expensive pair of carbon fiber shin pads, but also regularly wear any of my G-foam shin pads, which are so soft and flexible that you don't really notice that they're there. So if you hate shin pads, this is the solution. Now, you can, of course, also go a little bit more classic and traditional with these Puma Ultra Flex, Unisport logo on, of course, which are just, they're simple, they're minimal, they do the job. So whatever you decide to go with, there are many options, just get a pair of shin pads, slap them in the bag. I would also recommend you get a really good pair of socks. And I know socks, it sounds a little bit stupid. Is it important to have in your bag? But I think we all know the feeling of rocking up with your brand new, super expensive boots, and then you have to wear these so god-awful, overstretched, stiff, low-quality, smelly team socks that no one, let's be honest, really likes to wear. But you can solve that problem by bringing your own socks. Now, if you know me, you'll probably know that I am a firm believer in grip socks that go in and eliminate some slippage within the boot to maximize that sensation of responsiveness and just an overall better, more comfortable fit. But even if you're not as religious about your grip socks as I am, you can just manage by getting a pair of high-quality training socks from either of the brands, and you'll be doing really well. But if you do bring your own socks, also consider getting a pair of sleeves. That means that you don't have to go out and cut the foot off of your team socks, and they fray and they fall apart and all that stuff. Sleeves, they do the jobs, can be had in many colors, and just, it's really good to have in the bag. And the final thing on the list for the basics is clothing, or apparel, if you will, where I think it's a really good idea to get at least a top and some shorts, and if it gets cold at times where you play, also to get a long sleeve shirt and some long pants. And the good thing, you're pretty lucky these days because most training apparel out there is pretty good. Both Nike, Adidas, and Puma make really good stuff no matter the price range actually. But currently, I really like the Adidas Tiro stuff, especially the Tiro Pro. Shorts are solid too. And of course also, if you go for the long sleeve stuff, the Nike Strike it always does the business. And just make sure you get a pair of training pants with a little bit of stretch in them. Just for that feeling of extra freedom. Now, the Puma stuff is also really good, the Liga, the individual cup, and basically you don't have to buy the top stuff. The cheaper options are often also very, very good. Oh, and one final thing. Just remember to bring clean underwear and a towel for trainings and matches, because you don't want to be that player that has to wear, your dirty underwear after coming out of the shower, or just using a teammate's wet towel is not...
I kinda like it.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. But in the bag, remember it. So that is what I would consider a good basic football bag that you can definitely get by with and feel very good at trainings and matches. But I also have to admit that I pack way more things. Like, way more things. I am also like a gigantic, super uber gearhead. I believe in feeling really good for trainings and matches, and also just being prepared for everything. So I figured it'd be good to put together a list of nice-to-haves that you can kind of pick and choose from to determine what you feel would give your bag, your training and match experience, that little extra something. Or you can, of course, just go full Gearhead 3000 and get the lot, like I did. That is up to you and the size of your wallet. And one of the first things that I put in my bag always is base layer, particularly these air compression shorts from Lightguard. They're called Glue Tech, and they might be some of the best apparel I've ever worn in my life. And sure, they are on the expensive side, but for me, they're absolutely must-haves in the bag because they help your legs feel a little bit more fresh going into the match. They help prevent against hamstring injuries, and they also help speeding up the recovery process. And since I'm old, well, that's kind of gold. Now, when they're in the bag, I also really like to wear a base layer top. I go with the basic Unisport one, does the job. And when it gets a bit nippy out there, I tend to go for the slightly more hardcore Adidas Climber Warm or the warm Nike Pro stuff. Of course, it depends on where you play. If you play in Brazil, you don't need the Climber Warm stuff. But if you're anything like me, try these out. I promise you, they're awesome. They have to be in my bag. And speaking of when it's cold outside, gloves. It's not rocket science, but it's really nice to have if you hate having cold fingers. Now, I also want to let you in on another little secret, which is a bag that I always carry with me for matches. The bag of football gear love. And it has everything that I need in here. So, I have a little bit of muscle gel. I'm an old man. I need some help. A shoe horn. Some wrap if my ankles need a bit of support, some sock tape and wrap because my team always seems to run out. I guess you know the pain. Some kinesio tape. This is magic, guys. A little bit of a boot freshener pill if they smell. I have some blister tape. I just have a lot of good stuff in there. And obviously, you can't just put this bag together like that. It takes a bit of just like collecting and gathering. I also try and keep my boot cleaning kit around because it's just having clean, fresh boots. It's always nice. And then I've recently found this, which I wish I knew about before. It's called a freshener bag. And it's a little bit of a magic bag in your bag. That goes in to eliminate odor, it removes moisture, absorbs moisture, and it protects your footwear. It's just slap your boots in, and they will come out fresh. That's a cheat code right there. Get in my bag. And footwear. Now, I always bring a second, sometimes even a third pair of boots. And I realize that not everyone can do that because football boots are expensive. But if my primary pair of football boots is FG, I always bring a pair of AG boots with me as well. Being in Denmark, you never really know what kind of pitch you're playing on, and it's just good to have backup. And if I can bring a pair of SGs as well, cool beans. But having a second pair of boots at least is very nice to have. Of course, also slides for the shower has to happen. And also, if if you want, getting a pair of running shoes, they don't have to be the top of the line ones, but just getting a pair of running shoes is a great idea too. It's optional though, but now you know. I have it. Cool. Anything else? Right. This guy, a foam roller, which is something the pros use religiously, and after getting one, I understand why. I use it after matches to loosen up those sore muscles, and it hurts a lot, but it's good pain. It's yeah. Give it a try. Now also, I don't know what you prefer, but I always like to bring an energy drink for pre-match and then have a hydration drink for halftime and after the match. And again, you know, it's up to you, but it makes me feel a little bit better. Some people also prefer to bring headphones so they can listen to music and, you know, get in the zone before a match. I don't. I like to speak to my teammates, but again, it depends on what you like, what your routines are. But I think that was it. That's what's in my football bag in 2023. And I genuinely can't think of anything else. Which is probably also good because then we'd need a bigger bag. And just remember, guys and girls, that you don't have to have everything on this list in your bag. It's more of an inspiration of what you can put in your bag to have the most optimal solution for you. And well, of course, your budget. But remember that if you need some new stuff for your football bag or even the bag itself, you can buy 99.5% of all the things in the bag on the link to unisports.com right over there. But before you go, I'd also really like to know what other than your football boots in your football bag that you just cannot live without. Let me know in the comment section right down below. Of course, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And with those words, I'll be signing off. Cheerio. Oh, this is heavy. Damn.